Hello. As usual, we greet each other as we begin each lesson. And today we are going to move to lesson 9 of fire safety protection. Fire safety protection. And we shall be talking about automated sprinkler systems. Automated sprinkler systems. Automated sprinkler systems. I hope you are all well despite the security challenges we are facing as a nation. It is indeed a challenging moment for us from a security perspective. You can see what is happening in our republic and all security agencies, including the private sector. Everybody is on high alert for protecting people, property, and assets. I hope you are doing your level best to manage your locations or your facilities and also to manage yourself, to keep yourself safe as we move ahead. Today, we are going to talk about automated fire sprinkler systems. And these are fixed installations. Number one, these are fixed installations. Fire sprinkler systems or Ranger installations are fixed installations. A fire sprinkler is the part of a fire sprinkler system that discharges water when the effects of a fire have been detected, such as when a predetermined temperature has been exceeded. So we see that a fire sprinkler is part of a fire sprinkler system that discharges water when the effects of a fire have been detected, such as when a predetermined temperature has been exceeded. You can see from the photo that is one type of a sprinkler, and we see that it discharges water automatically when a predetermined temperature has been exceeded. Operation. When an automatic sprinkler is exposed to sufficient heat, the heat-sensitive element, glass bulb or fusible link, releases, allowing water to flow from that sprinkler. Sprinklers are manufactured to react to a specific range of temperatures. Only fire protection sprinklers subjected to a temperature at or above their specific temperature rating will operate. Fire sprinkler systems are of two types, dry pipe and wet pipe. Fire sprinkler systems are of two types, dry pipe and wet pipe. You can see some of the pipings for the sprinkler system. Dry pipe fire sprinkler system. A dry pipe fire sprinkler system is one in which pipes are filled with pressurized air or nitrogen rather than water. So a dry pipe sprinkler system is one in which pipes are filled with pressurized air or nitrogen rather than water operation. The air in the pipe holds a remote valve known as a dry pipe valve in a closed position. Located in a heated space, the dry pipe valve prevents water from entering the pipe until a fire causes one or more sprinklers to operate. Once this happens, the air escapes and the dry pipe valve releases water. Then water then enters the pipe, flowing through open sprinklers onto the fire. So we see that this type of sprinkler system is usually located in a heated space. The dry pipe valve prevents water from entering the pipe until a fire causes one or more sprinklers to operate. Once this happens, the air escapes and the dry pipe valve releases. Water then enters the pipe, flowing through the open sprinkler onto the fire. Let's look at wet pipe sprinkler systems. Wet pipe sprinkler systems use water to fill pipes and are used where temperatures will remain above freezing point of water, where temperatures will remain above freezing point of water. I'm having problems. I don't know where I'll sit so that I can, because you can only see the top of my head, which is not a very good thing. So I'm trying to see how I can position my presentation properly. All right, I think here is good. The wet pipe sprinkler system is the simplest and most common type of fire sprinkler system. Since the piping system stays filled with water, these systems are frequently installed where the potential for freezing does not exist. This system employs sprinkler heads that contain either a heat response glass bulb or a fusible element. The water is contained in the pipes until the heat response glass bulb or fusible element is activated due to the heat from a fire. Once activated, the water is released and discharged through the sprinkler head. In a wet system, the only sprinkler heads that will discharge water are those that are activated. Water will not be discharged from sprinkler heads when the heat and fire do not exist. Properly designed, installed, and maintained system is key to their proper operation. Very simple words, but very clear words and straight to the point. Properly designed, installed, and maintained systems is key to the proper sprinkler operation. So we have to remember, as security professional, properly designed, properly installed, and properly maintained systems are key to success of operation of these systems. And this is how a wet pipe system looks. This is how a wet pipe system looks. You can pick some information from that photo that will also add value to your knowledge. This is how a wet pipe system looks. We can discuss it further. A residential fire sprinkler. Residential fire sprinkler systems were first introduced in 2009 as an initiative that involved fire sprinkler installation in new residential construction. They can extremely be beneficial in emergency fire situations if properly working. They can stop a fire and minimize its terrifying consequences by giving more time for people to escape and for fire brigades to control it. With merits come certain problems associated with these fire sprinkler systems. Some of the advantages and the disadvantages of these fire sprinkler systems are mentioned below, or rather in the next slide. Benefits of a fire sprinkler system. Number one, immediate identification and control of a developing fire. Sprinkler systems respond at all times, including periods of low occupancy. Therefore, they are really good in control of fire situations. Control is generally instantaneous, immediate. And then we say immediate alert. Benefits of sprinkler systems, immediate alert. In conjunction with the building fire alarm system, automatic sprinkler systems will notify occupants and emergency response personnel of the developing fire. Reduced heat and smoke damage. Significantly less heat and smoke will be generated when the fire is extinguished at an early stage. And then also enhanced life safety. Staff, visitors, and firefighters will be subject to less danger when the fire growth is checked. So the benefits of using these sprinklers is that they have an immediate the identification and control of a developing fire. They provide immediate alert. They reduce the heat and the smoke damage, and also enhanced life safety, because once the temperature is above the set temperature or a predetermined temperature, the sprinklers will automatically release contents, which is water, and extinguish the fire. Remember, we have wet and a dry pipe, wet pipe and a dry pipe. And we said dry pipe, they contain air and nitrogen, and the wet pipe, these are contains water in the system. Design flexibility. Egress route and fire smoke barrier placement becomes less restrictive, since early fire control minimizes demand on these systems. Greater utilization of exhibition and assembly spaces is usually a benefit. And then enhanced security. A sprinkler controlled fire decreases demand on the security forces, minimizing intrusion opportunities. Those are some of the advantages of sprinkler systems. Enhanced security. Remember, enhanced security. Then we look at decreased insurance expenditure. That is also another advantage. Sprinkler controlled fire are less damaging than fires in non-sprinkled buildings. This results in lower insurance reimbursements. Insurance underwriters will usually offer reduced premium in sprinkler potential properties, which can save a large amount of capital. This is especially important when funds are limited. These benefits could be considered when deciding on the selection of automatic fire sprinkler protection. They offer a chance for decreased insurance expenditure. Safety of life and money. Fires are extremely difficult to control once they catch a building or a house. The smoke inhalation and heat can take away precious lives of the residents. Fires can turn house and businesses into mere debris. Fire sprinkler installations can help combat such a situation. They can help reduce the damage and save lives of people. The risk of injuries can also be lowered. Such calamities are sudden and unpredictable. So fire sprinklers also another advantage, less water consumption. Residential fire sprinkler systems trace fire and try to extinguish it immediately. Fire sprinklers can be very helpful to control fire quickly while using less water. So they don't use much water. And then also they assist in avoiding flashover. How does a fire spread? Those are some of the things that you should remember. How a fire spreads. We actually touched on this. We discussed this earlier on in this training. We discussed how fire spreads, which is a very important topic. And then avoid flashover. Flashovers refer to the fast spread of fire through one floor to the other in all the rooms, especially in a multi-story house. The fire sprinklers help to avoid such fire flashovers by stopping the fire spread from room to room. So fire sprinklers actually help stop these flashovers of spreading, which is spreading of fire from room to room, especially in multi-story buildings. Fire sprinklers will extinguish the fire at the level that it is still developing. That is one of an advantage also. Disadvantages of sprinkler systems. Of course, everything that has got advantages has disadvantages. Disadvantages: heavy installation costs. These systems are heavy, relatively expensive than other fire suppression methods. They are very expensive. And then fire sprinkler installation costs a heavy amount of plumbing, pumping, alarms, and routine inspections. It is costly to install this system and ensure its maintenance later. Also, Any faults can lead to massive damage. If there is a fault in the system, then if the sprinkler system goes wrong due to any plumbing fault, the results can be disastrous. It can cause flooding. These sprinkler systems have more water pressure as compared to ordinary plumbing. The location of the pipe is very crucial. The pipe may burst as a result of extreme cold weather and then require high power. Sprinkler systems usually require high power supply. They require high power supply. And definitely when we are talking of high power supply, then we are also talking of cost. And then unnecessary activation. Apart from the high cost of maintenance, there is always a chance that the fire sprinkler system to fail as a result of any reason, including frozen pipe. The sprinkler system may activate unnecessarily, which might result in a lot of damage. A lot of water may be wasted. Electronic devices like computers, phones may be damaged due to the excess water exposure. It would be important for you also to look at other fire suppression systems. We are going to discuss them just in brief, but it is important for you also to do research and look at the further other fire suppression systems. Um, in relation to that, we are going to discuss wet and dry races. Wet and dry races. You have heard about these words and you know them as it relates to fire protection. There are wet and dry races. Wet and dry races. Races are vertical piping systems used intended to deliver water to multiple levels of a building or a structure as a component of the fire suppression system. Just like fire sprinkler systems, razors can be dry or a wet pipe. Razors can either be part of a fire sprinkler system or independent, not part of the sprinkler system. Dry razor, just like the sprinkler system, the dry razor is a vertical piping system empty of water and is used to in instances where the immediate environment can be so cold as to freeze. Dry razor are used where the immediate environment can be so cold as to freeze. It is the opposite of a wet razor. A wet standpipe system where the pipes are kept full of water for manual or automatic firefighting system. So dry razors, they do not have water present in them at 24 hours. Wet razors, they have water with them in the system 24 hours. Wet razor is a similar system of valves and pipework which are kept permanently charged with water. Hose reels. A fire hose is a high pressure hose used to carry water or other fire extinguishing agent such as foam to a fire to extinguish it. Outdoors, it is attached either to a fire engine or a fire hydrant system. Indoors, it can be permanently attached to a building's standpipe or plumbing system. We are talking about a hose reel. And these are some of the fire protection, fire razor, dry razor, um, dry razor breaching inlet. This is a dry razor breaching inlet. If you look at your facilities where you work, you'll see these kind of systems, especially if your building is a multi-story building. You'll see this dry razor breaching inlet. This is where when the trucks arrive, then they will attach the pipes onto this breaching inlet, and then water will start to flow into the system. You can see the pressure gauge. exploring the similarities. The two systems aren't all that different from each other, and there are a lot of similarities. For example, both dry and wet razor systems are ultimately made up of a fixed network of pipes within high-rise buildings. They are used to ensure that firefighters have the necessary access to water in an emergency. When the height of the structure makes it difficult or impossible to utilize stationary fire hydrants or the fire engine supply. Both systems are designed to provide a rapid source of water to upper floors should the need arise. Both systems must also by law be tested every 12 months. This is often the responsibility of the property owner or managing agent, but mostly it is the responsibility of our engineering department and security to make sure that this testing is scheduled, once after every 12 months. And then also when we look at the difference between dry and wet razors, we see that despite all these similarities, there are some significant differences between the two systems. As a security manager, property agent, or a facilities manager, it is important to understand how dry and wet razor systems differ. It is important to understand how these systems differ. Dry razors, we come back again to the difference. Dry razors are a legal requirement in buildings more than 18 meters tall. They are typically only used in buildings between 18 meter and 30 and 50 meter. However, due to the limitations in how they operate, dry razor pipe networks connect a ground floor inlet, usually an external inlet, with unique inlet internal outlets located across the higher floors of the building. The pipes are typically dry, hence the name dry razor systems. When needed, water is pumped throughout the network, enabling firefighters to attach their equipment to the closest outlet for an instant source of water. Outlets are usually located within every 900 square meters of a floor and are typically found in lobbies, stairways, and cupboards. The pressure limitations of pumped water mean that dry razors perform best in buildings under 50 meters, while those over 50 meters require a wet pipe system. So you can see that dry pipe systems usually are used in meters below 50 meters. Those that require adequate um, usually outlets are usually located within every 900 square meters of floor and are typically found in lobby, staircases, and cupboards. The pressure limitations of pumped water mean that dry razors perform best in buildings under 50 meters, while those over 50 meters require a wet razor system. Wet razors, on the other hand, are a legal requirement in buildings over 50 meters tall. Wet razors are a requirement in buildings over 50 meters tall. They provide better water pressure on higher floors than dry razor can provide. This is a recent requirement with pre-2006 legislation requiring wet razors only for buildings of 60 meters or more. Wet razor systems are very simple, similar to dry razor systems, although, as the names suggest, the pipe networks are kept constantly full through a pressurized supply. This will be in the form of either a storage tank or the mains. The outlet system across the floors remains the same. However, should a fire break out on a higher level, firefighters will have instant access to pressurized water rather than water that is simply pumped through the systems. Wet racers should, at the minimum, provide 1,500 liters of water per minute for a total of 43 minutes. High rise protection. Fire protection throughout high-rise buildings is a more complex than fire protection for similar structures. A building's height can significantly affect both access to water and water pressure. So height of a building also has complications when it comes to fire protection. Hydrants, you all know hydrants, you have seen hydrants. Buildings near hydrant may qualify for an insurance discount. These firefighters should be able to move more rapidly, extinguish a fire on the insured property. You have seen hydrants, these are systems. A hydrant is an active fire protection measure and a source of water provided in more urban, suburban, and rural areas with a municipal water service to enable firefighters to tap into the municipal water supply to assist in extinguishing a fire. Mostly in Nairobi buildings, you will find their hydrant systems. You go to hotels, you go to industries, you go to factories, you will find that there are hydrant systems. What is a hydrant system? A hydrant system is a life-saving tool composed of a valve and a pipe. It allows for constant flow of water in case of an emergency in the city. It allows for constant flow of water under pressure in case of an emergency in a city. When I used to work at Republic of Maldives is where I learned a lot about these systems because there I mentioned in another class that the resorts are islands are very small and they have to have all these systems in place because logistically it is difficult to have fire brigade respond with ships to a fire situation. So every facility or every island, they have their own fire brigade and they have their own systems ready just in case fire starts. So what is a fire hydrant system? You can read more about that and you will get more information. And then also we say firefighters use the hydrants to get water from the public's water supply. These hence life-saving devices are put uh, strategically around the city or town to supply the water they need to save people's lives. So the system is interconnected and it will supply water and pressure whenever water is needed to extinguish a fire. Uh, and then this is just a repeat of what we have talked about a fire hydrant system. And then we say there are several types of fire hydrants. The two main hydrants exist, uh, wet barrel hydrants and dry barrel hydrants. Please read on that. Read on wet barrel hydrants and the dry barrel hydrants. Just look for notes. I'll send you even more notes, but I want you to read something on types of fire hydrants. And then their differences. What are the differences of these fire hydrant systems? You can also take a minute to read for your own, to write something down by yourself. Dry barrel hydrants can resist low temperatures. Dry barrel hydrants are more expensive than wet barrel hydrants. Wet barrel hydrants are easier to maintain in comparison with the dry barrel hydrants. And then we have the fire engines. You all know about fire engine, fire apparatus. a fire engine, a fire truck, or the fire appliance is a vehicle designed to assist in firefighting, in fighting fires by transporting firefighters to the scene and providing them with access to the fire, along with water or other equipment. You have seen these fire engines. We have few in our republic, but I know the fire protection agencies are also purchasing their own engines, especially in the private sector. You have seen companies like G4S, they have their own fire engines. I think even Securex, they have their own fire engines. These fire engines are very, very, very important in responding to a fire situation. These tools and equipment include aerial ladders, heavy-duty jackets, and airbags, extraction tools, and other torches, and self-contained breathing apparatus and resuscitators. Other more basic equipment include access shawls, picks, battering rams, power saws, hooks, and wrenches. So you will see that the fire engine, especially in developed countries like here in the US, you see that every locality has got fire engines, fire engines, fire engines, fire engines, and the fire engines are equipped with all those equipment in case of need to respond to a fire situation. And this is how fire engines look. And if you develop your career in the right way, then you may, at one time, become a firefighter, drive these engines, operate these engines, respond to fire, save life, minimize property damage, restore business continuity, among other things. So that is just a photo to show you how these fire trucks look. And then fire engines can also be designed to contain an elevating piston a platform to raise the firefighters and the equipment, including the water delivery systems, to higher building levels. Rescue trucks carry a wide associated assortment of specialized emergency equipment, including the type that might be used in building collapses and if building collapses and caves in. Field communications units carry sophisticated electronic equipment for use in managing fire and emergency operations. Then we talk about salvage a little bit, and then we say that salvage, this term refers to the methods by which firefighters protect merchandise, household goods, and the interiors of buildings from smoke and water damage. So this term is used to indicate how firefighters protect merchandise. Objects are covered with waterproof covers, and the water is removed by water vacuums, mops, squinges, water chutes, and portable pumps. Almost all the fire department carry salvage equipment in their apparatus. Fire departments in some large cities maintain special salvage companies. And then fireboat, also you go to the coastal areas or the islands, then you will find fireboats exist. Some of the fire departments that protect a body of water, such as a major city, harbor, or coastline, may utilize fireboats to combat fires or watercraft and waterfront areas. Such fireboats pump water from under them so they can provide water to fight fire. In some places, fireboats are not just designed for firefighting, they can also be used to perform rescue missions and transport divers and other equipment to scenes. This is how a fireboat look. I have operated this in the Republic of Maldives. I have worked with this in the Republic of Maldives. You find that the Coast Guard, they have this type of boats. Even here, the United States is a very large country. You find that along the coastline, the military and the police and the firefighters, they have these boats that they use not only for firefighting, but also for rescue. And then just a little more about fireboats. And A and B, we say that fire suppression can be tailor-made depending on the requirements of the facility to be protected. Or you can tailor-make your own fire suppression system depending on the requirements of the facility that needs to be protected. That is just a little bit about sprinkler system and other fire suppression systems as we have mentioned in this brief discussion. I made it very brief because I want us to cover the 2 lessons this week, so we remain with only 2 lessons for next week. With those few remarks, I say thank you very much. Read more in detail because definitely you will encounter some questions in your final paper from this presentation and the following presentation and the previous presentations. So you need to look into all areas and you need to focus and remember that we are talking about fire safety protection, which is also an aspect of security management. So thank you very much. We will meet again in the next session.